My husband and I were together for 11 years. He has always wanted an open relationship and been clear about that from the start. It took a long time to get to a place where we were both ready for that. It happened this October. For the first few months, things were amazing. It felt like we were reconnecting and getting to know each other on a deeper level. Then he met someone who he really liked. The full details are in my history. But basically, we got into a conflict because I felt he was exploiting loopholes in our rules. This led to an argument, and rather than engage with my frustrations, he completely shut down. I tried so hard to talk to him, but it was like talking to a wall. After 5 days, I said it was too painful living like this, and asked if I should find another place to stay. He said I should go. We've always been amazing at talking things through and resolving conflicts. We don't have multi-day fights. He loves communication. And I didn't even ask him to end his new relationship. I simply questioned his behavior. That was enough for me to be discarded. I rented an Airbnb for a week, 3 days, and he asked if he could call me. He was nearby, and I told him to come over. I thought he missed me. Instead, he walked in and asked for a divorce. I was beyond shocked. Then he had the audacity to get mad at me for acting heartbroken. He said that if I could admit that I felt the same way, we could have a productive conversation. I said that my reaction was fair, that if someone had told me a week ago that this would be happening, I never would have believed it. He said me too. I said, that's what makes this seem like a rash decision. I asked if we could instead call this a separation. Every book on open relationships says the number one rule is to not make any major life decisions in the first 3 months of a new relationship. Add to that his new business is about to launch, and it's winter in a pandemic. He reluctantly agreed, but since then has twice told me that he doesn't want a separation. He wants a divorce. We used to talk through every conflict for hours, but we haven't really discussed this at all. He says that because I don't want the same thing, a conversation is pointless. He will only talk to me when I also want a divorce, and don't have any negative feelings about it. We have texted a bit, but I've put an end to that because it was infuriating. He said that he feels guilt and shame, so I need to admit I agree with him so that he can stop feeling that way. He's also, I think, gaslighting me. He stood me up last week and called it a miscommunication. It wasn't. He just didn't show up. When I wrote that I was sad because I missed him and am having a really hard time with not being able to process this with him, he said that he doesn't believe me. Because how could I possibly be open to the idea of breaking up and also miss him? His arguments make no sense, put words in my mouth, and are often contradictory. This is all extremely out of character, to the point where about 10 mutual friends have now asked if he's having a manic episode. Bipolar runs in my family and I recognize the signs. He is not. Normally 11-year relationships end with more processing. Normally people hug and kiss or even have sex one last time as they figure out what to do. But I've realized that when someone leaves you for someone else, they get those needs met with the new person. It's incredibly difficult to go from seeing someone all the time to being told your marriage is over. No conversation needed. The person I knew has been replaced with a cold robot. He had a panic attack the day after we got into a fight about his new partner. He claims this released repressed emotions and made him realize he hasn't been happy in years. He told me that while he doesn't see himself with this new person forever, she fills needs that I don't. And he has experienced things with her that he needs in a relationship. Some of these points are fair. I'll address them in another post. What isn't fair is just walking away with no conversation, no effort. He wants a conscious uncoupling with no animosity from me. But he also treats me incredibly coldly, and with zero empathy. There is no room here for my feelings. He says that he lost himself in our relationship and needs to be alone to find himself. Except, of course, while still dating this new person. This is the hardest thing I've ever experienced. Thankfully, I found this sub and a few websites. I can now see that he's deep in the affair fog and is acting in a totally cliché way. As such, I've given up hope of having a reasonable conversation with him. It's been 1 month. I've made plans to leave the country for the summer. I'm focusing on myself for the next 6 months and have told him I will not talk to him without a mediator present. The few conversations I've had are so full of projections and blame. It feels like talking to a crazy person. So, even though it breaks my heart, I'm basically going no contact. I won't get what I want right now, which is a reasonable conversation with the man I love. I don't know why I'm posting here. I guess to find people who relate. It fucking sucks because he's now so convinced that he hasn't been happy in years. He's rewriting our whole relationship as some sort of nightmare, when it was actually quite good. And his texts to me almost make it sound like I'm abusive. I never even raised my voice in all this, but he told me that he's realized I'm the exact same as his abusive father, who regularly screamed insults at him when he was growing up. Apparently questioning his behavior is the same as that. Okay, Whatever, I can't fight crazy. I've been so diplomatic and kind through all this. I should win an award. Story 2. Wife's affair with cousin's husband. Wife had an affair for 2 years with Bill, her cousin's husband. Cousin and Bill don't have any kids after 15 years of marriage. The affair started when Bill started helping out with my kids 9, 7, and 5 while I was out of town. To set the context, I have to say that Bill is very good with kids, and kids love to be around him. Wife claimed that it was only an emotional affair, and it started because I was sometimes gone for 2-3 weeks at a time, international trips, and she really needed to lean on someone. She admitted that they might have kissed a few times, but nothing more than that. Given that everything else was good in our life, and that my wife has been an excellent mother, I agreed to give it another chance on the condition that we take Bill out of our lives. It has now been more than 2 years since I discovered this, and we have completely cut off the Bill from our lives. She still sees her cousin, but her cousin does not officially know about the affair. Cousin has a terminal illness, and we thought it best not to burden her. We tried to work out our marriage over the last 2 years, but our marriage has turned into a dead bedroom. Finally, after 2 years of frustration, I talked to her about getting a divorce. I told her that I have forgotten about what happened, but since she seems to have no desire for me, I have no reason to stay. My wife has countered that by taking the Bill out from our lives, we have cut ourselves from the larger family. We avoid family gatherings where he is present, and caused hurt to our kids who had got very attached to Bill. She says that she feels guilty for excluding our kids from the larger family and taking their friend Bill away. Lastly, she claims that since I cannot forgive the Bill, it means that I have not really forgiven her either, and she cannot sleep with me because I have not forgiven her. I told her that I have already come a long way by giving us another chance, but bringing the Bill back in our lives is completely non-negotiable. Seeing his face or hearing his name triggers toxic memory, and I am unable to handle them. Am I wrong here? Should I show even more forgiveness and compassion to allow him again in our lives?